And dear Executive Vice President Vestager, Vice President Jatinas, Minister Kucek, dear ladies and gentlemen, and of course, I have to say good morning to the performers of the Ljubljana School. Excellent, excellent performance there. My name is Riina Vourikari, and I'm here today with you from Sevilla, Spain. I work at the European Commission's Joint Research Center, as you can see here at the background, and we are the knowledge in-house arm for the European Commission. So today I will talk about three topics to open this session on didactics. First, we will discuss about the pandemic. I don't want to go back to that in many details, but I would like to make a reflection with you together. What can we learn from that, and what can we take with it in terms of designing more conducive learning environments in the future, where also the students of the performance would feel more comfortable and home. I will also talk about today's challenge, and this connects together with what Executive Vice President Vestager was talking about using AI. And here I am talking about the confident, critical, and responsible use of AI systems by all citizens. By all citizens, we are also talking about students and teachers, of course. Last, I will stop with the idea of going towards the future and thinking about learning technologies with the new, let's say, AI emerging systems, but there, importantly, the balance between human autonomy and machines. Definitely, when we're talking about education and learning, that is very important. And here it links with social and emotional learning competencies to the framework called life contact. So let me just get started. Here at the JRC, in the beginning of the pandemic, we right away started looking at how could evidence that we have in education from previous studies, wide-scale studies, serve us in terms of helping policymakers to get forward and make the right decisions. From that one, we went onwards in the summer 2020, and we started looking really at gathering new evidence and data about emergency remote schooling to better understand what is happening, to take account of the experiences that people went through, and again, with the reflection, what can we do better in the future and next time. So here I will share the slides with you. They are actually already on SlideShare. I will have links to all these reports for you to look later. I would also like to point out that we looked at a third sort of a phase, which is really for schools to start preparing for the school year 2021. And there we were at the position where we didn't really know how the pandemic will play out, and we were looking at different scenarios. How did schools actually start preparing for this school year? So we have accounts from 5 countries in terms of reports. I will just go into one of the studies a little bit more in detail, and it sort of sets the scene also for the rest of this talk. This study looked at how families handled this emergency remote schooling during the spring summer 2020. This was an interesting study in terms that we interviewed parents with children. So both from the family, we had one child and one parent to be surveyed. We had 11 countries, and actually Slovenia was also part of the study. So if Bojana Loeb is there in the audience, make sure to talk to her and ask a little bit more about this study. One of the things that came out is this huge increase in screen time. Here what you can see is we asked the children during a normal week during the lockdown, how many hours did you spend online? You can see that the blue lines, they are about 6-7 hours average during the week. And out of that, about half of the time, the green lines bars were spent on educational activities. This is a huge increase. For example, my colleagues from Norway looked at the data from pre-pandemic times, and there it was 3.5 hours. What did students do online during that time? Here, another question we asked these participants in the survey about online activities with teachers. Was it then an online class, maybe video conference where you do some of the exercises, and so on. As opposed to the other one where we could see kind of the hours spread very equally across countries, here we can see big differences, how actually learning activities took place and how often students were online with teachers. This ranged from about 25% in Australia, from Austria, students being at least once a day or more online with their teachers, to countries where, like in Italy, 3/4 of students said that they were online with their teachers. Now, in this question, we don't know exactly why these differences, but we can, of course, know the background. Schools had different preparedness, and they had different equipment, different type of practices set up for digital education, but there's also homes that played a huge role. Not all homes were equipped to be online. One worry that was brought out through the survey and through the online learning activities that children went through during these, of course, very extraordinary times, was the anxiety and worries that this online learning caused them. We know that we asked the students how much were they getting worried because of these online activities, whether they get poor grades at the end of the school year. And this was one of the problems that many schools put focus actually on delivering the curriculum and less on the social and emotional well-being of children, where also the assessment techniques were probably being still the end of the school year exams that put a lot of pressure on these children. We see here many differences across countries, but this scenario is just worrisome. The good news, though, that I wanted to highlight here is the students' disposition for learning. We asked them how quickly would they learn to participate in these online activities. And here the green line, what it shows is that many of these children's, majority, 2/3 of the children said that they believe they learn quickly to participate in these online activities. And this kind of positive disposition to learning is really important because from the previous studies, we know that this kind of a emotional resilience, if we want to call it that way, or personal disposition, growth mindset, really can help learners to overcome potential challenges. And these are, for example, the challenges that they could face during remote schooling or hybrid education, or however form of blended learning we want to go to. Both parents and teachers play a huge role in this, helping developing this attitude. And I would like to mention that we can develop this attitude. It is something that could be learned, and that's why at the end I will come back with a proposal about the social and emotional learning competence. Another important thing to think for the future is really to focus on this balance between screen time and off-screen activities. One thing is important, we need to, more learning doesn't, more time on screen does not necessarily equate in more learning. More time on screen, though, we know equates for more risks online. And this is something that was also mentioned by previous speakers, and the digital skills that they have to mitigate possible harms that could come along. And here we're talking about students, vulnerable groups. So this is really important that we design online learning in a way that it is really taking advantage of the technologies and not putting the users in peril. So here teachers need also better skills to design for this type of learning. We had never a scenario where school would not be the place or center of learning. So teachers need also new skills to design for distance learning and more blended scenarios. Last, I wanted to say that this is definitely an equity question also. We cannot leave so many learners behind because either they don't have skills, their parents don't have skills to help learners to learn, or they don't have equipment. We know that in Europe, families living with children, households with children, even 28% of adults have low digital skills, and 8% have no digital skills at all. So this is definitely something that we have to bear in mind when designing digital education. Let me come today now to today's challenges and go and discuss a little bit more about the AI systems and digital skills that citizens, meaning all learners, teachers, parents should have. Here we have what we have on the left side of the screen is a typical smartphone. Somebody's reading their email, and we have at the bottom of the screen a few little boxes that just automatically, what kind of answer would you reply to this email? So their AI actually has gone through your email, read, and proposes different ways of answering. This is very handy for users because typing on that small screen is just painful. On the other side, we see the face recognition software. You might see this on your phone again, or on Facebook, or any other social media platform, where pictures of your friends are actually grouped together based on their facial features. This is AI again, and actually what is important here, you can teach the system. You can put names, and you can say, yes, this is my friend Mike, and this is Anne, and the system learns more you give this kind of feedback, the better it gets. Another type of use of AI today is a lot with household devices. We see here Roomba, for example, being a robot vacuuming around. They again use AI. There's a machine learning algorithm that maps your apartment. There's helps the robot navigate around and proposes maybe cleaning schedules for your kitchen and bathroom and so on. You can operate nowadays these devices through smartphone. You use voice operated assistants, and there again you use some personal data, because your voice is actually biometric data, personal data, and to communicate through these. We're not often aware of the personal data being collected by these systems, being processed maybe extensively, and also being shared with third parties. So this is one of the worries that also Vestager was mentioning, and it is real. So part of the Digital Education Action Plan, which was mentioned also before, there's the pillar on enhancing digital skills and competencies for digital transformation. Here, one of the important parts is really to put these skills to citizens, digital skills framework. And this is one of the actions that I'm actually personally leading, and we are working here in JRC Sevilla on this. On the right hand of the screen, you can see the digital competence framework. That's sort of a visual representation of the 5 areas that we deem are important for digital competence. They are information literacy and data literacy, communication collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving. With our work on this topic, we started thinking, what knowledge, what skills, what attitudes do citizens really need to engage with these new AI systems, the ones that I was talking about, the ones that are already here, in a confident, critical, and responsible way for learning, for work, or even just participation in society. We started gathering requirements, looking around, looking at the different applications that are there. And these are the 3 knowledge, skills, and attitudes that we think are important for all citizens. One, to be aware of the benefits, limitations, and challenges of these AI systems, but more importantly also have a clear understanding, and not the one from science fiction movies, what these AI systems today can actually do and what they don't do. Regarding skills, We don't think that all citizens should actually know how to create AI systems or code, but we think that they should be able to use, interact, and give feedback to these systems as end users. This means that they could configure, supervise, and adapt these systems in terms of giving them feedback. I was mentioning giving tags about names, training them for face recognition. If that's what you want to do, you can train your system to do that better. But you might also not want to do that, and you should be able to tweak the system or override some of the configurations. More importantly, this is an area where attitudes become important. This is really where we have to think about the human agency and control. These are systems that make predictions based on big data. They are averages. They might work for average, but do they work for you as an individual? That's a different story. And that's why we think that end users should have that agency and control, not to be nudged into these systems, but be actually thinking, this is a recommendation by system. Do I want to take that or not? So being critical yet open is one of the important attitudes, but also these ethical considerations of usage. What if I start using that automatic replies to my friends? Am I taking something away from human interaction? What if I start using personal assistants? Am I revealing something about important parts about my personal life to a system? The third-party data could be used again somewhere else. Is it right that I upload a picture of my friend and use facial recognition on that picture? Maybe the friend doesn't want that. So this is our idea behind these new examples. And here, let me show you just one. This is the first competence from Digital Competence Framework called Browsing, Searching, and Filtering Data, Information, and Digital Content. Here, for example, we think that the knowledge item is that citizens should be aware that AI algorithms are used in many of the search engines today, on social media, on content platforms, and their purpose is to generate responses that satisfy you as a user, and this is exactly called the personalization. These algorithms then adapt to what the user clicks or does, chooses, and so on. So this is the learning part, the intelligent part, although usually it is still quite dumb and simple. In terms of skills, we, for example, say that in the future, you should be able to formulate a search query using, for a virtual assistant, using your voice commands. And those who have used these systems know that there's a little difference in terms of typing search queries and in using your voice commands, because there also the system gives results in a different way. You don't get a list of results and so on. Importantly, thinking about the attitude, take advantage of these algorithms, but also being able to avoid negative outcomes, having skills to know that you're not compromising your privacy, your personal data for sources like there's a commercialization of your personal data, there's other, let's say, advertisement businesses hungry there for that data. So I'm glad to announce that today we are starting public validation of these skills, and it's valid actually till November 28, not 228, there's a little typo there. Anybody can participate in this online validation, and you're welcome to go to that link. You're welcome to review our statements of like the examples that I just showed, and give your opinion. Is this relevant in the future, or is this maybe not relevant? We're looking at including things in this framework so that it will really be helpful for future trainers, educators, citizens to upskill in this area. The Digital Competence Framework 2.2 will be out in February 22. So that's our timeline. Talking about digital competencies, there's another important tool that has been just launched about a month ago, also from my unit. And this is thinking about these important digital skills for teachers. I already mentioned teachers are citizens too, but they have professional requirements through their job. And here we're thinking, how do they use these technologies for teaching, supporting learners' learning, assessment, and so on. So this selfie for teachers is exactly a framework for that. And we have this self-reflection tool built for teachers so that they can go and sort of map out their own knowledge in this area, their own skills, and also get little pathways for training. This is maybe a gap that I have. Let me get better at this. This is already something I ace. Maybe I can help my colleagues teaching this skill to them. So this kind of tools are also built for helping schools to exchange ideas and practices amongst themselves, and importantly, to build those professional development pathways for teachers who so much are in need of support in this area. I now come back, let's say go ahead and to the future to end this talk, talking about a little bit this kind of anticipatory thinking for future technologies in education. Here we are really talking about emerging technologies. Here in this report, this is something that we also do in my unit, is prospective sort of anticipatory thinking and reflective strategic reflections. What could future be in order to see something that we can actually shape? It just doesn't come upon to us, but we can actually make decisions today so that education is more inclusive, more social and emotional, more better, faster, and so on in the future. So in this report, this was written just in a pre-pandemic time. We wrote about 10 scenarios using future technologies such as social robotics, VR, AI systems, helping conflict resolution in schools, and so on. But really thinking from teachers' professional perspective. What are the challenges that they have in the classroom? And one of these big things that should be pondered in this area of AI and other automated decision-making tools that are being developed today is what should first of all, machines or algorithms take decisions which otherwise would be taken by teaching professionals who have adequate pedagogical and subject-specific content skills? Maybe the answer is not yes or no, but the answer is somewhere in between, and it depends. It depends in which context these recommendations are given, or these suggestions, these decisions. And here we are exactly thinking, maybe in some cases, these applications should not take autonomously this kind of decision. And that was exactly what the Commissioner Vestager was also referring to, sorting out your CV for job application, your entrance exam for university place. In those cases, we need to have humans in the loop. So we need to have teachers in the loop. Over the loop, sometimes just overseeing that the decisions that the machine gives are maybe suitable or could be tweaked. In other cases, it might be totally okay. We can think of edutainment type of applications, or some drill and practice in mathematics, in languages, where these kind of machines can easily propagate the next exercise for a student. That might be an okay place for machines to take the decision. But this kind of a questioning and being vigilant about it, having those who design these systems, talking to those who use these systems, having parents involved maybe in this decision-making process, in design process, will be important in the future, and in order to build the future that we really want to build. The second concern with these applications is their underlying pedagogical models. They are often very, very rudimental. It goes with the stick and carrot. We know that's effective with animal training, for example. Is that effective now in a school? So those pedagogical models on which pedagogical or educational constructs they are based on should be clearly spelled out so that teachers could make a decision whether to use them or not, whether they have to be in the loop to oversee that the decisions are really correct or not. So that's something that we should be really critical about, I would say. And again, when we design this system, keep that in mind. Also, where does the data come for these models? This is really just a big question mark. Some of these platforms, they collect very dumb type of data about your engagement, how many minutes you were online, how many times you watched a video. Is that the type of data that allows us actually to coach when learning happens? My guess is not. So there, we also need to understand where the data comes from, how traceable these decisions are, what's the transparency of the systems, and how is the explicability. Why did I get a recommendation for this homework or this exercise now based on X, Y, and Z? The last thing that I will finish this talk, I know that my time is coming up, is that learner agency. We want learners that they make decisions, that they are self-directed learners. They can regulate their learning. And here this social and emotional learning area is really important. We want these systems to support and empower learners in that and not to make those core skills redundant. This is why we are now paying so much attention to this emotional, social, and metacognitive competencies in education. Very recently, also in my unit, we released a framework called LifeCom, which is exactly looking at these personal, social, and learning to learn competencies. There's an mounting evidence that intentionally promoting these through education have very positive outcomes. And I'm sure the performers also today would join me in this. So when we talk about life competencies, the lack of in-person contact might, due to COVID or due to these new learning arrangements, might have made students less motivated to engage in learning. And this kind of building the emotional resilience in individuals will be really important. So that's why we have also for teachers, one of the problems being that teachers don't know how to teach these things. We all know that these are important, but how to actually deliver this as part of our instruction, as part of our practices that we do in the classroom. So here we announce that there's a new MOOC starting at the School Education Gateway. And this is exactly about the life competencies, about good practices already found around Europe. And this is a 10-hour course, will run end of November to December. So I invite teachers to participate on that, because this is exactly the stuff we need to be teaching and focusing in the future. So with this talk, I will giving you a little outline of three sort of different sections that I deemed important to open the first session on didactics for digital education. I remain very interested in seeing all the discussions that will take place in the workshops. And with that, I thank you for your attention.